You are live. Good evening, ladies. Jana here from Slim by Nature. Hope you're doing really, really well. As per usual, Tuesday night live. We are coming to you from our office today, and I'm actually waiting on to see if I'm actually live. So let me just quickly check. Perfect. So we are live. I'm waiting for Lisa, our master presenter today, to join. Not sure where she is, but I will start and see how that all goes. Okay, great. Ladies, the girls who are doing our challenge currently, Spring Detox Challenge Energy 2022, you are doing incredibly well. I'm so pleased and proud of you. You have to wait, my love. You go back to the room. Mommy's busy working now. Sorry, I've got a 7-year-old here, and all of a sudden, Alaska, please, it's not funny. Please just go. Thank you so much. You can, and you need to go. I'm busy. My husband is not at home. We just moved. We don't have any Wi-Fi or even like the phones don't work at our new place. So it's I had to come back to the office, and I had to bring my child. So apologies if there's going to be little interruptions. But whoever's watching, please say hi. I'd love to know that I'm not the only one who's speaking into my laptop. But going back to the Spring Detox Challenge. So Spring Detox Challenge, we are we're halfway through the third week already. So we're in the middle of the third week, which is super exciting. Ladies, you're doing well. I have noticed you posting your results, you're posting your measurements, you're posting your stats. Please keep on going. It's a long ride, and obviously the novelty of getting into something new has worn out a little bit. So it's gonna take a lot of mind work in order to go back into and get excited again if you're kind of feeling down. This week as well is also important to remember. We recommend to start taking your Formula Z. Formula Z is a fantastic powder, and let me see if I have one here. No, nothing is on the shelf. I think Arle's just moved a couple of things around. But Formula Z, it's something that we encourage you to start having on week 3. Basically what it does, by the end of second week, entering in the third week, your weight loss will be slowing down. So your scales won't be as exciting when you jump on it and looking at the results. So what we have created many, many years ago, a supplement that helps you with your sleep. So basically you take it just before you go to bed. It's like a nightcap. It improves your sleep, but also it does improve your metabolism. So it speeds up your metabolism and increases your HGH production, which in turn helps you to burn your fat. So A, you get restful sleep at night, and B, you are going through the fat burning phase during the night. It also helps you with the HGH production being increased. It helps you to increase your natural collagen production. So, the ladies who want to plump up the skin. So this is something that I highly, highly recommend. Not sure where our master teacher is, but you know what? I'll run through what I have here today, and if she is. Not sure what's happening, but we'll see how we go. So another thing is we sent out an email last night, and we have an invite to a very limited number of customers who have been selected to be VIP. And the reason it was only, I think, out of all of our database, the system has selected about over 1,000 customers on our VIP list. And VIP list, it's something, or VIP, Slim by Nature VIP Club, it's something that we have been working for a while, and we finally managed to release and send the first invite. So if you have received that email, it means you're a member of our VIP club. What it means for you, it means you get free shipping. You also will receive free gift with purchase, and each month you will be receiving a new offer. Just one second again. Alaska, what is this? You take this. I'm sorry, ladies. It's hard. Mum's work. Hard job. Sorry. You pick up this plug-in there and unplug the phone. Unplug that phone and you can plug it in. Thank you. And if the iPad, Alaska, is not working, you're going to go and draw. I'm very, very busy and I don't want any distractions. Sorry, guys. So each month you'll be receiving an email with the monthly offers. And for example, one thing that you will always get, it's 10% off all the time. So even if we have a sale, you will get the extra 10% off. How good is that? So let me know if it sounds exciting, and let me know if you want to be part of our VIP club. On top of that, for the month of October, you will also receive free gift with purchase. Please go. Yes, thank you. Thanks. You will receive a free gift with purchase. I can't remember now exactly what else was included, but as I said, if you have received an email last night and I know it's been sent out, let us know if you have exercised your little freebies. And if you want to be invited to VIP Club, shoot us an email. We are working on a broader email that will allow you to understand how you can become a VIP member. Just checking if Lisa is there. No, it doesn't look like she is. Sorry, I just received the link. Oh, sorry, I'm just sending the link. Just stay with me, ladies. Sorry, my loves. It's it's a little bit. We've got a little hiccup here. I'm just quickly shooting. I think I'm stressing a little bit, but sorry. Let me just forward that email again to Lisa. Oh, here we go. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Well, I've been chatting and blabbing about and telling the ladies who going to be rewatching the video later of what's happening in our group. But welcome. Let me just quickly see. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, great. So, ladies, I hope you can jump in back. We just had a little delay, so I'm just quickly get out of here. So, just quickly finish off where I was with our VIP Slim by Nature member club. As I said, we are working on a broader email that will be sent out in the next day or two, and basically we'll outline step by step if you want to join VIP club, what you need to do. But for those 1,000+ members that you've been invited already, let us know if you have any issues, and please remember this offer is valid for the month of October. So next month you'll receive your new offer. But Lisa, it's so lovely to have you here. Welcome back from your travels.
Thank you.
And I was just driving on the way to work here to the office, and I thought we're going to be talking about, you're going to be giving us some tips on how to use our voice, and yet you just got back from 10 days of silence retreat. How did you find it? Was it a first time when you did a silence retreat, or you've done a few before?
It's the first time I've done a silence retreat like that. Yes, for sure. I've done sort of half days and days,
Yeah,
but never fully gone into something that is no speaking, no electric equipment, no
yeah.
television, and so it was. It wasn't challenging. I can't say that it was challenging, but I do know that there was many variants of experience through the whole process. So I think I was ready for it. I certainly don't think I would have liked to have done it when I had first begun my journey. That would have been very challenging.
Mm. Were you allowed to interact with other members in the retreat, or it's just your journey and that's it?
Completely discouraged from even eye contact. Like if you did accidentally make eye contact or you needed something and you initiated, just hand gestures or something, you know, they certainly didn't berate you or tell you off or anything, but it was certainly, don't intrude on other people's
Yeah.
journey because you don't know what stage they are and where they're at. I found it difficult when I found a snake. I did sort of, say, "There's a snake. What sort of snake is it?" And that was my only really break of silence. But there was amazing moments of communication as well that were magical. And
Mm.
uh, yeah, it was certainly easier as the week went on because we did 6 o'clock meditation outside, then we did yoga, then we had food. It was all Ayurvedic, um, vegetarian food. And
Mhm.
then we would go into session. Deepak was on the ground morning and night. And so we'd go into session with Deepak and then we'd have lunch and then you get breaks and then you do another yoga, another meditation and into the evening sessions. So it was really full on. It didn't finish till 9 o'clock at night. So you'd go back to your room, get ready for the next day and hit it again. So there was a lot of processing.
It sounds similar to I don't know if you did before, but I did Vipassana 10-day silence retreat, and
Mhm.
I didn't pick the right timing, but I felt I needed to go. I did that when I was pregnant with my second child on the seventh month of the pregnancy. So I lasted about, I would say, 4.5 days, because again, the same thing, they take away your devices. You actually sitting alone, like it's a tiny little room where you can just sleep. You meditate every morning from 10 o'clock in the morning. I think it's only vegetarian food. I think for me the hardest part was actually sitting and in a yoga pose. I didn't feel comfortable, and at one point I remember that time, the minute when my pelvic kind of, I stretched too far and I couldn't put my legs together because I was heavily pregnant. So I
Oh.
had to had help to get me up, and I started moving. But you know what? I think that was only later, probably on day 4, and that's when I'm like, I have to go. But on day 2, I just started crying. I was just in tears and in tears, and I missed my family, and it was interesting. I'd love to go back and do the full 10 days when I'm quite fit and physically and mentally prepared. But I knew I had to go then because I knew once I have a child, I won't have the time for a couple of years to be able to, live for 10 days. So I kind of had a half experience, and my God, it was full on for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and the brain slowing down, it was interesting just to watch it because they encouraged you to whatever you're feeling, you need
Mm,
to sit with it, and not try and look for, you reaching for a conversation or reaching for the device or turning on the TV or looking for that substitute, that stimulant that would get you out of
yeah.
feeling that emotion. And they gave us a really interesting step process. And
Mm,
it was, what are you feeling? So is it you're angry? Are you depressed? Are you happy? Are you whatever it is? And then where is the emotion sitting? So is it in
mm,
your soul? plexus? Is it in your head? Is it in your, where is it? Then this was the really interesting part. How old are you with this emotion?
Ah.
And there was a moment where I thought, oh, I'll try this. I can't even remember why I was feeling this, where it was triggered from. But I went through that process, and this 13-year-old self came forward and just went, and she was angry. She was
Mm.
like, and I thought, I've dealt with my 4-year-old, my 8-year-old, many different ages, but I'd never dealt with the 13-year-old, and she sort of came to the surface. So I think that was interesting, and I think it was quite timely as well, because that 13-year-old was the height of growing up with a bipolar schizophrenic father and lots of conditioned behavior. So it was interesting to go through that. That was probably, I'd say, the heaviest processing that I went through. But I certainly, there was a lot of people that have been through. There was one lady that was obviously going through heavy chemotherapy. At the end, we met a man that had gone through divorce through COVID, and then she got cancer, and he told his story and journey through it. And she bought him the ticket to go and do this retreat. And it was just, so there's 250 people.
Wow. And it was in Canada? Was it in Canada? No. Or
It
you
was
were
in Yosemite National Park in California.
in California. Oh, yes, yes. Amazing. Yeah. Well, it's, as I said, I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to, especially with you, with, training with Deepak and going through that. But today, I really, really, when ladies come back and rewatch tomorrow, when they log in, I really wanted to pick your brain and your expertise. As you know, like, I highly regard you as a voice coach, but also a master. And especially after we have completed, I don't know, is it 6 or 7 week course with you? I also, so ladies, you've heard us talking about it for quite some time. Like, every time we get together in the office and we go live or anything, we do bring up certain things. But I brought the girls, so all my Slim by Nature angels went with me. Every Friday we traveled to Lisa's performance studio, and we actually attended a course in face to face with Lisa and other ladies. And it is designed to help women to find the voice. Is it right? And I think for me initially it wasn't really, oh, I need to find my voice. Like, I have the voice. For me, it was more like, oh, maybe I should correct my accent, or maybe I should, learn how to pronounce certain words better. But what I took away from the course, I'm totally fine with my accent. I'm totally okay when I mispronounce certain words. It actually gave me more confidence, which I didn't think I needed, but it gave me the different layer of that confidence. It gave me that authenticity of who Jana G is, and speak my truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is for me or the listener. So, and I've been using certain practices since then, through, like, I almost, like, especially if it's a difficult conversation, I prep myself, I do the storyboards. And because I think another problem that I personally had, I go on a tangent. Like, I start talking about one thing, and then all of a sudden I'm someplace else, and I I used to forget, oh my God, what was I talking about? I actually remember a live that I did with one of the charity leaders, Theresa Mitchell, and we started talking about something like you and I are doing now. And I had to stop, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't remember the question I asked or where I'm heading, because this is something, like, I'm in a different world where now I know the little anchors, and I'm like, okay, well, let's go back. So it was really interesting for Alia, for example, our dispatch and customer service. Her confidence level on a professional level has also jumped up. It was interesting to see Chelsea as well. I find Chelsea, she might be joining us, but I find Chelsea, I thought she was always nice and warm, but I liked when, again, on a professional level, how certain things need to be told directly, and she's using that power as well and that knowledge. So I loved it. So Tell us maybe a couple of tips and why woman's voice is important, especially in today's society, in today's life, the way we live, where everything is digital. We don't really use our voice that much. It's much easier to ignore the phone call and send a message back of something. So how do we, what are your tips? What is the importance of having your own voice, and what is your own voice? What do you think?
Well, there's lots of questions in there. I could probably talk for about 17 hours on
I know.
on topics. Look, I think that today, coming off the back of my mother, my grandmother, the 1950s, 1960s, and we went through the women's lib movement, and certainly, fast tracking to today when we've got the Me Too movement, it's one thing to burn our bras and fight the fight and, be an online warrior and really have that greater desire to do more, be more, say more, and to be heard. It's one thing to have all of that, but it's certainly another thing to actually get up and articulate it. And just because you have the desire doesn't mean that you have the means or the skill set. So I find that in my practice, that most of the ladies that I work with have that desire, but they haven't got that confidence, and nor should they have that confidence. They've never developed it. It's another skill set, right? So they shouldn't necessarily have that confidence of knowing how to do it. What does it feel like to have that confidence? What does it feel like to embody your voice and the alignment between your physical voice and your internal voice? Where do those two worlds collide? And how, in essence, do I find my real voice? Certainly, you hear that all the time. I lost my voice. I need to go and find my voice. I'm not a believer that you actually lose your voice, because your voice is always with you. Now, you could argue, well, you lose the internal voice, you lose the confidence to use your voice. But I certainly do believe that there's usually moments in your life, and often in your cognitive development, so when you're really young, that you have moments where you make an agreement with yourself that I don't deserve to use my voice in a certain way, and I don't deserve to be heard. And that often comes about by the environment that we grow up in, the family, cultural differences, country, sides of the planet that we come from, has an impact. We are all born with a voice. And you may remember when we spoke about this in the Woman's Voice program, that when we come out of the womb, we express ourselves perfectly. We take that first breath and we create this amazing vibration that tells those weird human adults out there who we are, what we want, and what we need. It's not reliant on what personality type, what label you like to go by, what stature you are in society. It's just purely a human instinct that I need to communicate this. I need to tell this person that I'm hungry. I need to tell this person that I'm sick, whatever it is. And as mothers, we spend the first 6 weeks of that child's life identifying what each cry means. Or that cry means they need to have their nappy changed, or that cry means that they're just whingy. And so when you think of it from the baby's perspective, through that basic instinct and human need of desire, we create this perfect vibration and we communicate perfectly. But as we grow and get older, we start to develop habits and we start to have conditioning, and parents, grandparents, they don't say it that way. Children should be seen and not heard. There could be a traumatic event. There could be a cultural traumatic. It could be war, could be famine. There could be disease, loss of a parent. There's all sorts of things that we attach to and say, okay, well, and it's usually in the subconscious, I don't deserve to be heard. Now, that's put on hold for 20, 30, 40 years until suddenly we realize that we need to access that point now. Some of the ladies that I work with are 40 and 50-year-old, very highly trained, highly skilled technicians as lawyers. And they get to that age point where they want to go and they want to become higher in the firm, or they want to have a partner role. But to do that, they need to be more confident in the way that they're heard at the table, which sounds odd because you'd think lawyers would be confident. But generally, when they get to that next level of, now I have to stand next to my male colleague, usually is comparing themselves to, and I need to be heard. And so we track back, and often there's this moment in time in their childhood that they've gone, actually, I don't deserve to be heard. And so it's unraveling all of that, reconnecting to the voice that they were born with, and getting them used to, again, feeling what that vibration, because it is a vibration that we feel inside of ourselves, what it feels like to, in fact, own your voice. And I remember we did this in your group with the Woman's Voice, and we spent, a session working on how just to introduce yourself, how to say your name. And I know that sounds really odd, but I can tell you, in my experience, 99.9% of the people that I work with, I was going to say women because most of them are women, don't say their name and own it.
That's right. And you know what? When we did that exercise, I just want to touch on the lawyers. I never thought that a lawyer, a woman lawyer, it could be shy or could be, I suppose, less confident than what I have imagined. But what I have seen is it feels like they do the job and they don't want to be seen. They don't want to be heard. They do the job. They literally serve a client, and they so involved in the case, defending or whatever, or in the court especially. So for me, to watch this beautiful, highly educated women that spend years in university studying law, and for them to not wanting to introduce themselves, not wanting to be seen, I was really, really surprised. And I'm like, oh my God. And to see the transformation weeks later, to see women, the same women, standing strong and telling their stories. But tell us how really we should be introducing ourselves. Is there I know the little trick, and I know the rules and I've practiced, but or give us an example of a different introduction, because I think with examples it just hits you so hard, you see. So how should we introduce ourselves, and how we should not be introducing ourselves?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's also stereotypical here in Australia, not just in Australia, because, coming back from the States, I'm hearing it across the world. We're such a global community that you can turn on Instagram and hear anyone in the world, no matter where they are, and you hear these upwards inflections. And, whether it's linguistically correct is irrelevant. We'll put that aside at the moment. It goes back to primitive times that an upward inflection, that okay, which is, a monkey language, is evoking, movement. It's evoking you to respond, to answer. It feels like it's something that's moving forward. But then if you've got the it has much more of that landing and that guttural sense of, this is it, this is true, this is a statement, this is where we belong. And so I like to attach that thought, because really we've evolved from ape, we all know that. And our communication has fast-tracked our evolution, which is, this is something that Deepak actually spoke about in his own language, where he said, if we didn't have this mechanism here, evolution would not have evolved the way it has. But unfortunately, we've gotten way out of control with just empty conversations, empty words, empty sounds, conflicting sounds. And going back to these nuances and inflections, the inflections, when you say your name, which is what we're talking about now, you introduce yourself and you say, "Good evening, my name is Lisa Lockland-Bell." And in that moment, I'm making a statement. It's a stick with a dot. It's a statement. I'm owning that. This is who I am. I stand in my presence. I'm here in front of you and I'm here to serve you. But what we get is, "Good evening, I'm Lisa Lockland-Bell." And we have this upward movement, which evokes in the subconscious, in the listener, of, "Really? Are you really Lisa Lockland-Bell?" Okay, now they may not articulate, the listener may not articulate it, but the feeling they get through the sympathetic vibration, because you're creating a vibration, is one of, "There's just something about her that I'm not sure of. I can't put my finger on it."
Mm.
Okay, and it's
Also
just
not
that.
as engaged
No,
in the
no,
first
it's
Mhm.
not. It's not sure. I use Oprah Winfrey as an example because she's so present in the global community. Oprah, when she introduces herself, her inflections are all going perfectly in the right way. And it leaves you with a sense of, she's one of our heartfelt leaders of this century.
Mm.
We feel, the ultimate feeling is safe. We feel safe when she speaks because everything's going in the right way. Her facial expressions, her body, her words, and her tone, which all have different weights, they're all going in the same direction and having the same vibration, if you'd like to call it that. And so
Mm.
we feel safe. So I always talk about setting the intention when you're going to speak. Before you speak, think for a moment about, how is it that I want this person to feel? What are the words that I'm about to impart? How is it going to add value to this person? Those are the things, some of the ideas on how to start communicating differently and not just reacting
Mm.
and allowing an emotional response, but more of a, in essence, it's really quite selfish because I don't want to feel that I haven't given my absolute best for that person when they've been in front of me.
Mhm.
So the inflections, and there's a story with a lawyer, and she was a senator here in this country, and she was going for this really, really big high-end job. She had to speak in front of the three leading male figures politically, community, and religion in the country. And we'll leave all those names off the table. She'd spent months working on this presentation. And so she engaged me to work on the delivery. Now, being a high-functioning lawyer, they spend 99% of the time working on their words, okay?
Mm.
And in a communication graph, only 7% of what you say is based on the words that you use, on the way that you make an impact in your communication. Only 7%. So she spent 99% of her time working on getting all of the words right. So she's introduced herself and she said, "Hi, my name's Jenny and I'm happily married and I live in Sydney." And I stop. Like, the presentation was going on for hours and she kind of looked at me taken aback. And I said, "Okay, I just need to ask, are you happily married?" And she said, she was confronted and she said, "Of course I am. What are you talking about? Like, let's get on to the good stuff." And I said, "The way that you just said that makes my subconscious and my reaction, my physical reaction to that is like, are
Mm.
you?"
Mm.
Now, again, these men that were in the room probably aren't going to articulate it and intellectualize it like that. Maybe they do, but they're probably not going to. But what they'll do is they'll stay stuck there, and probably for the next 3, 4, 5 minutes, they're going to be thinking about the way she said that and why it made them feel weird. Right. And now that's in the first 7 seconds that she's started introducing herself. She might as well stop there because they don't believe her. But if she had said, "Good afternoon, my name is Jenny and I am happily married and I have 3 children and I live in Sydney." Great. Next. Okay, let's get to the good stuff.
We're ready to listen. Yeah.
But it's disruptive. It's disruptive because there's this lick and this question is like, why am I feeling like I'm being confronted, like I need to respond? But she wasn't really asking a question. She was telling me who she was. So there's this dichotomy that goes on. And when I work with people on saying their name, of course, everyone at first is, this is ridiculous. I know what my name is. I know how to say my name.
It's so hard.
When they get to say it, they're like, no, you went upward. That was upward. That was upward. And it's really quite difficult to take that ownership. And when you start doing it, then what happens, really interesting, is the ladies start to feel all of this background conversation and, the scumbag voice comes forward and goes, if you say it like that, you're going to sound like a bitch.
Yeah, that was my next comment. Exactly. We were so scared and I know so many women are scared to speak that way because we're people pleasers. We've been made to please everywhere we go, with everyone we interact, whether it's at the post office, on the phone, or filling up the car. We are pleasing. We're trying to be polite, but by doing this, it's really destroying our matrix of who we are. We don't need to be polite all the time, and we can be polite, but we can speak differently. We don't need to smother all the time. We don't need to, swallow the words and pretend. I think to me, it's more now pretense rather than being polite. When I see that, don't try too hard. Just be yourself. That's all.
Yeah.
But my reaction now is like, come on, let's just get to who you are, really.
Yeah, it's an apology.
Yeah,
you're apologizing in that moment in case that person takes offense to something that you might say, or questions you on something, and you can backpedal and get yourself out of it. It's self-sabotage in a way. To introduce yourself and own it takes a lot of confidence, and you need to be brave in this world because there's a really big word that I talk about a lot. And, coming out of Deepak in the last week, it came up a lot with him as well. And that is responsibility.
Yeah.
It's a really big, negated, very scary word that people don't like. They like to pass the buck. They like to make the apology just in case, to self-sabotage. I can back my way out of this. They don't like taking that ownership. And it was really quite confronting. Deepak said, I hope that as a human race, we are enlightened and we wake up before we sleepwalk into extinction. And I just went, wow. It really is one of the most profound and truest statements that I've heard. And it's not just him. I heard Eckhart Tolle, another guru, probably 15 years ago. He said that we are on the brink of insanity as a human race collectively, because of so many extenuating circumstances that, we again could spend 2 days talking about. But this whole not taking ownership, not taking responsibility, holding space as best you can and being truthful to yourself, that's part of the practice in, how do you get to know what your own voice is? Well, one of the practices is stop lying to yourself. Spend 21 days, and this is a great challenge, spend 21 days not lying to yourself on any level. So
when you say not lying, what do you mean by that.
this is really interesting and relevant for what you do with Slim by Nature. Okay, you're retraining habitual patterns. Okay, so it might be something like, I've worked really hard today. I deserve that chocolate block.
Mm.
You're lying to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need the chocolate block. It's not
Yeah.
going to change the essence of who you are as a human being. It's not
Yeah.
going to make you better. It's just going to make you feel worse tomorrow because you know that you've let yourself down. So that's a form of self-sabotage. And so there's so many times in our day, and when I first started doing this, I'm like, oh my God, I thought I was pretty on track. And there were so many little things. I don't have to get up and do that exercise routine today. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do yoga today.
Mm-hmm.
I can have that extra glass of wine on the weekend. My immune system won't get impacted. You know, there's just so many little things that we justify and make excuses for. And so the journey of finding your voice is very much about stop lying to yourself first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is like, I think on a daily basis, I'm trying to be better at everything I do. And, where I think the realization was last week, I had quite a busy to the point where my physical body is actually showing now. I've got cold sores. I've never had so many cold sores in my life. Like my stress levels were probably so high that my body, and I can take a lot of stress. I'm used to stress. I used to manage many things, many moving objects and people and pieces. But last week it literally took, I think, every ounce of life out of me. And when this week some things didn't go to plan, and normally I would come up with an excuse. I could go and have that glass of wine, or I could go. We have no connection where we moved in, the house, the new house. There's nothing, Lisa. There's nothing. No phones. Like literally, you go off the grid, and that's it. No one can see you. No one can hear you. If something happens to me, no one would even know.
Yeah.
We're working through it. But the realization of, yes, I could have had 2 bottles of wine over the weekend with my husband and do all of this. I could have went off the detox and, those excuses. But I got to the point where even though it is uncomfortable, I'm having this honest conversation with myself, and I'm actually observing. It's so interesting. I started observing my thoughts from afar. So if I'm just sitting and letting my thoughts rule my day, I'm like, okay, well, this thought popped into my head. Let me take you out. Sajana, step out and look at what's happening. Like I literally do that as a physical. I visualize myself stepping out and looking at my silly brain and everything that it has in my head. And when I see that and I can see the irrational things that it's thinking through, I go back with peace that it is uncomfortable situation and you just need to get through it. So stop lying to yourself. Stop finding and looking for these excuses that will save you in this minute, but you will regret as soon as you do it. So just stop. Go through this uncomfortable process. It will get you through, and to have that, to experience consciously, to go through this, I can feel the growth and I'm loving it. I'm in pain, I'm in struggle, I'm like angry, cranky, but I'm going through that. So those excuses, you can remove them, and I think once you do that, you feel so powerful. And the voice,
Taking control.
yeah, it's the best thing when you can take control of you.
It reminds me of I'm going to share this with you, and for those ladies. So I have my book literally.
Yeah.
I wrote
Yeah.
a book notes when I was with Deepak. For the ladies who don't know my journey, I have had cancer twice, and so Deepak was sitting there, and he started sort of touching on cancer, and gave a few scientific new pieces of evidence of things that contribute towards cancer. And one of them, incidentally, was vitamin D. He said that science is finding vitamin D deficiencies are having a major impact on the immune system. But he said these words, which I've twisted to become my own statement. And he said, the reason that I've survived what I've survived over, 26 years, right? That's when I first had my cancer, is because I changed my story. I changed the way my body metabolized the experience of time, which changed the ability for my cells to repair themselves effectively. And I just went, oh my goodness, how subtle, but so powerful and so profound.
Can you say it again? So I just want to close my eyes and just listen to it again.
So my survival and surviving cancer is because I changed my story. I changed the way my body metabolized the experience of time, which changed the ability for my cells to repair themselves effectively. So how that lands for me is that one of my big teachings is always, if you've got an illness, if you, and let's, you also put that into if you've got an addiction, that can be food.
Yeah.
Then if something that you're doing is not working for you, and that's part of the responsibility piece, that's part of the taking the ownership. And so I knew that something was not working for me. So I changed my story.
Yeah.
I didn't stay doing the same story and survive, because the doctor said to me, you can't get this disease again because your physical body won't take it anymore. So I changed the body. I changed my story, which changed the way that my body metabolized the experience of time, which helped my cells renew themselves, because they're always renewing themselves. But if you don't give your body that opportunity to change that story, then you're going to keep doing that little mouse on the wheel, going round and round and round and round, which is a form of insanity, because you're doing the same thing expecting a different outcome. I just thought that was such a beautiful way to pull together what you're doing when you're going through a rejuvenation process. And that can be, finding your voice, that can be doing a detoxification, that can be losing weight, or, giving up alcohol, whatever it is that you need to look at that subtle shift that's beyond your ego. It's beyond the physical form. Even though we're talking about the physical form, it's that physical habitual pattern that's led you to that state.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I think changing your story is so powerful. How many times we meet people, and how many people around us we have who say, this is how I am and that's it. This is how I'm built. I'm 50 years old. If I haven't changed myself, or if I haven't learned that in 50 years, there's no way I would be able to change. And there's such a, and I'm referring to things where family members, husband and wife, for example, husband is doing something that really pisses off the wife, and she keeps nagging, and that's why a lot of marriages do break down, because it's not because they don't love each other, it's because of the daily routine, because of the wife is either doing or not doing, or the husband is doing not doing. And that miscommunication, or that laziness, or that not being responsible for who you are as an adult, this is who I am, love me or leave me. And I think this is a childish way of living your life, because at this age, the older we get, I think there's the more we realize life is so short, and we have such short period of time to become the best of who we are, to bring it back, use our voice, to change, to improve, to learn. And if anything, when I see or hear someone saying that, I just think, oh my God, you better change your story. It actually did really work well with my father. And my father, I don't know if you know, but you probably heard, he was heavily depressed for many, many, many years since he came to Australia. And we tried the medication, we've tried everything. And at one point, he decided to change. He stopped medication. He stopped sleeping. He stopped sleeping in. He stopped drinking. He is back. He's 65, 67, I think. He's back on his bike like he used to ride his bike when he was a 30-year-old man. He trains. He doesn't drink anymore. And that was just a split. He decided to stop lying to himself. I think that was the monument breakthrough. So imagine if we all stopped lying to ourselves and took the responsibility and started voicing really. And you know what? I think voicing your misfortunes, voicing your negative experience, voicing your things that you need to improve, it takes courage. And I think if we talk more about what we need to improve and how we can get there, rather than maybe pretending to be everything is okay and my life is okay and I can live with that, maybe there will be maybe we can save our humanity at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's I can talk about it as well, and I love listening to you as well, because there's just so many doors that you can open up and just go and through the tunnels. And by talking to you right now, I'm actually learning about myself. How interesting.
It is interesting. And I think too that, you have the power and the control, of course, as you've mentioned, to make different choices. And you can also turn up into a conversation differently, depending on the outcome that you want. If you want, peace and tranquility, you need to turn up into a conversation very differently. When you're in a state of presence, all of those people around you feel presence. And the conversations that you have on the outside world is a direct reflection of what the conversation is that's going on the inside world. So, as you know, in the way that I train, a lot of my time is spent talking about what's going on in the inside. Oh my goodness, no, sorry. It's my son in Spain at the moment.
Oh, nice.
Stop it. Oh, sorry. I can't turn that on. Hang on. Let me just actually, I was going to mention my son here, because that choice of turning up into conversations is a story that I tell often. And that is that my son turned 18 and he was, a good kid. He wasn't into drugs or alcohol or partying or anything, but he was cheeky, and he was the kid that I got a phone call from at school, or the school rang me every week when he was at school. And it was challenging. Let's just say that. And so when he left school, he started to spread his wings, and he didn't want mum to have a lot to do with how he was living his life. And I was, hanging on, and I was approaching it very much from a mother perspective, and you'll do what I say. And I was very dominating, and I went, I was very frustrated, and I went to my husband and said, look, you need to help me, because I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. I said, I have such an amazing relationship with all of my clients, and I hold beautiful space for them, and I can turn up, and there's these amazing outcomes are happening. but I can't communicate with my son. And he said to me quite profoundly, and I have to admit sometimes wives don't want to hear their husbands say this, but he said, how are you turning up to the conversation with your son?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I was angry. I'm like, and he said, how is that different to the way you turn up with your clients? And I said, well, it's chalk and cheese, completely different. And he said, well, why are you expecting a different outcome?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as I realized that and I took responsibility, that relationship with my son changed instantly. Instantly. And we have an amazing relationship now. He's literally just finished the Camino walk and he's ringing me to celebrate. But it only changed because I turned up and I started holding space for him, which allowed him to have a different conversation with me. So by me not saying anything, by me just turning up,
Yeah.
he then felt safe in my space without having judgment, without having projection, without projecting my own fear onto him. So, the whole exercise of finding your voice and strengthening your voice, and particularly being heard at the table, this is something I hear all the time. How do I get heard at the table? And how do I make that person, and it's usually a man, how do I make him listen to me? And I now simply say, well, how are you turning up to the conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Turning up with this big armor on and this expectation and this masculine energy and not honoring your feminine self, and expecting that he's going to listen to you. That's just going to repel. It repels anyone.
Do you think how we speak and what we say obviously matters, but do you think how we look and what we wear also is important? There's so many times where I've seen quite incredible, again, talking actually now looking at the conversations, there were men looking at men and not dressed, not even nicely trimmed, just a very average looking man, but quite wise and wealthy and has a lot of wisdom to share. And I listen obviously because of what he says. Do you think it's the same picture with women, or do we still need to put the face on? Like, for example, for tonight's live, of course, I had to go home, I did my makeup, came here, and I looked more or less presentable. But men really, of course, we like looking at nice looking men, handsome men, but at the same time, it's very different. I think it's a very different vibe. So do women still need to take care of that element to be heard and listened to?
It's an interesting question. My short answer is that I do feel that if you're looking after yourself on every level, so if you're looking after yourself on what you eat, you're looking after yourself in looking after your feminine energy, which means honoring yourself with a beautiful bath and honoring yourself with going for a beautiful walk and, giving yourself a scrub and putting on some moisturizer and some perfume and looking after your feminine energy. I think that you can do all of that and still turn up with not a scrap of makeup on and still look fresh and look really beautiful.
Radiant.
Because you're radiating from the inside out. It's when you turn up and you haven't got a scrap of makeup on, or you haven't done your hair, and you've had 6 glasses of wine the night before, you haven't had sleep in the last 2 months, you're eating fast food every day, you're not doing any of those self-care nurturing routines, and you turn up and expect a different outcome, well, you're repelling from the inside out then.
Yes.
You're not honoring the self. So it's an interesting, complex conversation. I often tell the story of a woman who turns up to a networking meeting in Prada, dressed beautifully head to toe, and then the woman who's standing next to her, they're both lawyers, both went through Queensland University, and the other one's, not dressed in Prada. She's beautifully coiffed, but she's not as bright shiny.
Yeah.
So the person who's in Prada opens her mouth and says, "Hi, how are you? Great to meet you today. I'm really looking forward to you doing your talk."
Yeah.
And the second woman opens her mouth and says, "Such a pleasure to meet you today, Lisa. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you've got to say." Which person's the one you want to have the conversation with? It's usually the second one.
Yeah.
Based on the way she makes you feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because there's something incongruent with, the woman dressed in Prada, because it doesn't match. And this is, as much as I love the Kardashians, I think they're really great things for the planet. But when they open their mouth, it's a train wreck. Okay?
They've done some good things for the planet, as you said. Yes. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But what is that squeak?
Mm.
I don't actually want to sit there and listen to that. I mean, and then there's, variant versions of that similar story. But coming back to how to reconnect with your voice, it is about the internal work. It's about who are you? What do you want? What is your purpose? What is the legacy that you want to leave behind? And then within all of that, what are you not doing today to live that legacy? You can't want to be a millionaire. I really don't believe in going and buying lotto tickets, because it's wishing and hoping. You're not actually doing the practice which will generate and bring in that like attracts like, that manifestation process. Wishing it is not going to work. You have to become it. And that comes back to who you are and what that responsibility is in becoming that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Tell me a little bit, and this would be probably the last little part, about your course. So women, and again, when we send an email out tomorrow, in the summary, we want to let the ladies know what they can expect. So has the program changed from when we did it back in, I don't know, was it May, June, July?
Yeah, we're actually not going to we're not going to run it this term, we've decided, for the last term of the year, because it is evolving, and I am going to, it was a 10-week program. I'm going to probably reduce that down to 6 2 hours. It was 10 1.5. I'm going to reduce that down to 6 2 hours. And I'm probably going to spend a little bit more time. I feel that we need to spend even more time on uncovering and taking more responsibility on our truth. And I just want to tweak the last half of the program. So we're going to start it up again in March next year. But we are taking bookings now, and it will really be about that journey of what we've been talking about tonight, about what are the steps, how do we go through this process, but also knowing that you've got a safe space to land within that journey, because it is challenging. It's not easy. It's not something that I go, just take responsibility. It's not that easy. I mean, and I really do say that hand on heart, that it is a tough journey. I've been doing this since I was 23. I'm now 50. So it's a really long journey. And I'm not saying that it's going to take you that long either, but I know the pitfalls.
Yeah.
And I know how to navigate you through the resistance that comes up, and the uh, the loathing that can come with it of the self,
Mm-hmm.
all of those subconscious thoughts is what I'm focusing on there. So
I feel, Lisa, you're gonna do something else. You're gonna create a course that's probably gonna combine the knowledge that you already have outside the voice, bringing your voice into it.
yeah,
I just think you've done, your journey is quite, it's not just about the voice, but the voice it's the icing on a cake
yes,
when you get to that. So all your learnings with, with just literally you just come out of this trip. Like, I think something is brewing. I don't know. I had goosebumps and I had the feeling. Never
nice.
know. I think could be something really incredible, because you know what? When we see a voice coach, like my first initial thought many years ago, I need a voice coach who can help me with my accent, who can help me with, with the basic things that I felt I needed. But discovering, and like we've just spoken for the last hour, it's not what I think. It's actually the internal work, and I think you are the perfect guide, the mediator to let women go through that, and men, to go through that discovery of who am I, so then the voice gets, whoo, here I am, and I can be the light. I am the voice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no,
if
I think that you're right, because I've intuitively just gone, coming back from the retreat, I've gone, no, I'm not going to do, there's a lot of other things going on in our business at the moment that's growing kind of in another direction. And I've just gone, no, I need to tread water with this at the moment. I need to sit with it. Because, and, you're probably right in that something bigger is there. I really do want to, I own a property that I want to develop a retreat for women. And it'll be a 4 to 5 day retreat, which will be all about getting in touch with that feminine energy, really igniting that, more about Ayurvedic medicine, also communicating with horses. I studied horses for many years. I have 4 horses, and I studied the communication with them through the horse whisperer. So I went and spent years understanding how to communicate without any verbal. And I use a lot of that methodology in my teaching as well. So I do feel like there's a movement towards taking it to the next level.
I do feel too. And I mean, I have no idea what you've been doing, but it just feels with this in the last hour, I just see something magical evolving on top of the
Thank you.
voice. Yeah. I
Thank
and
you.
I'd love to know, and I'd love to hear, and I'd love to follow your journey and the retreats. I remember you were talking about retreats, even when I attended your lessons. So yes, I feel the property we just purchased, we with my husband, it's 10 acres with its own dam, and it's beautiful. And I always wanted to have retreats, but retreats more for kids and women.
Mhm.
So the women can bring their kids, and the kids can soak in kind of indirectly of what we're going to be doing, so the next generation grows into it as it's a norm, rather than let's take them out, bring them, the little kids, to retreat, and let's teach them things that I want to teach. And with the facilitators that I'm talking to, I want kids to be exposed from the young age of what we're discovering just now.
Mm.
Imagine if it was given to them at a school age. Oh my God,
100%.
they don't know how to communicate. And this is going to take another hour, which we won't go. But imagine if kids were able to communicate
Yeah.
and really just be without being shy, or be without being shamed to not say or say, and just be and evolve how they
Mm.
what needed to be evolved, without us constantly putting them down, and society telling what is right and what is wrong. So, and I'm trying to do this with Alaska, my little one. And it's a hard journey. It's a hard journey because you see the beautiful essence of the children and you just don't want to lose it. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. But
Thank
look,
you.
thank you so much, for coming. Thank you for your time. I really, really appreciate it. Ladies, we're going to send off tomorrow the email with the link for you to watch. And if you want to follow Lisa, I'll also can I use your Instagram account? Yes?
You can use my personal one, Lisa Lockland-Bell, or Performance Studios. They work hand in hand.
Yes. So do you follow Lisa? Lisa is in Brisbane. So if you guys Gold Coast, Brisbane, it's probably good to follow and see what you're going to come up with next. I definitely will be following you. And hopefully I can meet you sometime soon in the next couple of months. But I know you're busy and we'll catch up in the new year otherwise.
All right, darling. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone watching.
Thanks. Bye-bye, guys. Have a good night. Just end the broadcast.